Have you ever wondered what it would be like to work with your husband? Well, our next guest does, and she is the action taker in their business. And I love this because, there's a lot of artists out there who they're create, and they don't know how to run the business aspect of it. So their creations kind of stay hidden. Well, I was talking to NaKeesa just a little bit ago, and I'm excited to introduce her because, so oftentimes that we women are the ones who are running the show, and I'm not saying that that's what's happening in her relationship or anything, but if it weren't for her, it's possible his art would be would just be hidden. So welcome to the show, NaKeesa. I'm excited to talk about this because oftentimes we hear about the woman behind the man kind of thing, and that kind of strikes a chord with me in a way, because really, why can't we just like work hand in hand together? Why does it have to be one behind the other? So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm excited to hear about how you two got started, with helping him run the business, or did he even have a business before you were like, hey, let's kind of like sell some of your stuff? Like, I want to hear the story behind that.
Okay. So no, he did not have a business set up, and we are both from Washington, D.C. And in the late 90s, we moved out to Seattle, Washington. One of our jobs brought us out here, and we just had a dream that we wanted to get his art out into the world. And his grandfather was a pretty well-known local artist in the Washington, D.C. area, just kind of in our small community there. And he taught his children and grandchildren how to draw and paint. And that's kind of how my husband got his entree into the arts. But his grandfather, unfortunately, didn't get the recognition that we feel that he should have gotten based on his talent during his life. And my husband just wanted to be, the next, well, two generations later from his grandfather to actually, really pursue it, because his grandfather also did not get to pursue his artwork work fully until after he had worked like 40 years or something and retired. So we
Oh,
heard that
wow.
Seattle had a pretty amazing art scene. And so we moved out here, not just for that, but that was one of the deciding factors. And I was able to transfer with my job. And we just started learning about trying to get acclimated to not just the area, but the art scene as well. And we had a lot to learn. My husband went to a performing arts high school also, and between what his grandfather showed him and what he learned there, the whole what artists were told to do was to get represented by a gallery and try to get your work into museums. So we did try that route, and we weren't
Hmm.
very successful in that. And not that people didn't want to represent him, it was just that the contracts they want you to enter into is sometimes, in my opinion, like highway robbery. They want
Oh,
50% or more of whatever you sell. So we didn't really find exactly what we wanted there. And we had kind of, highs and lows. Like some years he didn't create, some years other things in life happened and we didn't get his work out there. And so we also tried to do outdoor fairs and things like that. And we did that here and there, but it was much tougher back in the day before social media and cell phones and just all types of technology that make it much easier these days. Like we had a big clunky credit card machine, and that was terrible. And now we have, like a little square machine, and it's just
yeah, yeah.
so easy. We hook it up to our phone as a hotspot if we don't have access to an internet connection wherever we are. So I would say in about 2012, 2013, we really started getting out there more, to the point that now we do shows, art shows and art fairs especially in the spring and summer, every other weekend. We have our website, we have social media, so Instagram and Facebook. We sell things from our website. We have home art shows where we invite friends and family about once a quarter to our home to, share any new work that he has out. And we have original artwork, tote bags, pouches, prints, and then greeting cards. So it's like something for everyone. So from $5 up to thousands, for the original artwork. And that's kind of how we have been, getting his work out there up until to this point.
That's so cool. When you get started, there's the saying, starving artist, right? That's like a saying that might be a truism, for a lot of people. And what would you say to somebody who is an artist? Like some of my clients are artists, for example. What would you say to them to get themselves out there? Because today, like you said, there is social media. There's different mediums to get yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
And was there ever a point during this journey that you two were like, forget it, this is ridiculous, we're never going to make it? Did you ever have those kinds of feelings? And if so, how did you come out of that?
My husband did, and my husband has those feelings all the time,
Okay.
actually, but I didn't. I strongly believe in his talent, and I don't believe that just because he's my husband. I tell him all the time, if you weren't good or your artwork just wasn't something that I, I felt would resonate with the public, I would support you as your spouse, but I wouldn't take on the role as business manager. I wouldn't be promoting it. I wouldn't uh, be publicly promoting it the way that I do, because I strongly believe in his talent. His talent is incredible. So, what I would tell an artist is to find a way to get your work out there in many different facets, in many different ways. So, one of the ways that I kind of twisted my husband's arm back in the day when we would do outdoor fairs, we really just had his original artwork and some prints that we made on an inkjet printer in our house. And so
Okay.
I said, you should try to find a way to get your artwork on products, or we should do that. And the first thing that I decided for us to do was greeting cards, because I thought that would be easier. And it turned out to be easier than anything else. So we had about 20 greeting cards, or 20 different images that he had painted at the time, that would translate well onto a greeting card. And we found some local printers who were able to um, put the artwork on greeting cards. And so we did that. And then I just pounded the pavement. I took a small portfolio of the greeting cards and went to local gift shops and things like that and showed them to them and asked if they wanted to carry his greeting card line, or they could pick, certain ones that they felt would resonate with their customers. And so I got about 25 of them pretty quickly in the beginning to carry his greeting cards. And then later, like I said, we have moved to tote bags, pouches. We have been able to invest in a high quality printer for ourselves. We have a specialty printer, a person who does something called G clay printing, and that is an art reproduction that is not considered a print. It's considered a reproduction of the original because it uses archival inks and archival paper so that it doesn't fade for a lifetime.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's a higher price point than a print, but less than an original painting, but still very high quality. So I would say try to get your work on as many different products as you can that make sense, but don't go overboard. So like we don't have mugs and, just like everything under the sun, which you
Mhm.
can. And I think you just have to learn your audience. I would say do shows if you can, as many as you can, to kind of learn what people are attracted to and figure out what your work would look good on. So people have asked us, oh, well, you should put your work on, or you should put his work on a bedspread or a shower curtain. And, that may be something that a couple people might like, but my husband, said that based on the ratio of the original picture. And when you blow it up to that size, it would not look good,
Mm-hmm.
so you have to learn that kind of thing as well. And have various price points because we've had people buy all of his greeting cards and frame those as their artwork because they can only afford, a certain amount. And then we've had people who can afford, original paintings. But I would say, unless you are further along in your career or you're very fortunate, typically you don't have a lot of sales of original artwork right from the beginning because
Mm-hmm.
you have to find those collectors who have the money to invest in that and who are interested to buy at that price point.
I like that you said quarterly, if I remember correctly, quarterly that you guys do shows, but you do them in your own home. And so how did you come up with that idea to do that and why?
So I came up with that idea because I'm always trying to figure out a way to get his work to the people who want to see it rather. And like I said, when we do the outdoor fairs that are public, um, that's one thing. So that's one way. But I knew that some of our friends would tell us that they were interested in his work on a deeper level, not only seeing it, but they wanted to know more about his process, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I just had this idea one Saturday morning. My husband was sleeping in, and I just thought about this area of our house that we don't really utilize that much.
Mm-hmm.
And so I moved furniture around and I hung some pictures up just to kind of visual, so I could like actually see it. And my husband woke up and said, "What in the world are you doing?" And I was like, "I think we should have shows at our house." So
He was like, "What?"
yeah. So we do that quarterly and we have people bring their family and friends and young people who are interested in art. And so he opens up his home studio and shows everyone all of his tools because he does traditional painting, not as much anymore, but he still does it and he teaches that from time to time, and also digital art. So he has multiple devices that he does digital art on and he'll do a demo. So it's a more intimate experience for folks. And we still have everything that we would have at our booth at an art fair with the bags and the prints and whatnot. And then we do an annual bigger show of his where we take all of his work, all of the originals, all of the prints and everything, and we rent a space and we invite his email list and we advertise and promote on social media and around town to art teachers and art organizations. And that is for the public to see all of his
Mm-hmm.
work that is new and what he's had all along.
So how is he taking this? Because at the beginning he was just doing his art, right? Just doing his thing,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden you came along. You're like, "Hey, let's do something with this," right? But how long have you guys been? How long have you been helping him, like managing him, and then how um, how has he taken it?
Mhm. So off and on, I've been managing him since 1997.
Okay.
And like I said, it was our plan to get his artwork out there when we moved in 97 from Washington, D.C. to Seattle. So I don't know that we thought that I would manage him per se, but because it kind of grew into that. We just thought we were just two people, a married couple that
Right.
was just gonna like figure it out. And then once I saw how much, work needed to be done in the background from promotion to making sure you have the right licenses, business licenses, keeping up with being organized and keeping your records together for taxes and things like that, I
Mm-hmm.
saw that, I needed to be like an actual manager. So, yeah, off and on since 97. And it was something that he, wanted. I would say he didn't realize that it would be this involved probably either because it was a learning experience for both of us. But he always, says when he does artist talks and things like that, that he just couldn't do it by himself. It's just, I mean, people do it by themselves, but it's extremely challenging because most creatives that I know really don't have any interest in that. They just want to create. And so that's kind of
Right.
where he is, and he has the luxury to do that. They do it if they don't have someone to do it for them, or they can't hire someone to do it for them. But it's challenging.
It's awesome that you because you're a married couple and doing this, and it's like it's the perfect match, right? Because you have, he's doing the creative side and you're doing the, organizing side, keeping everything running smooth so that he
Mhm.
can continue to create. And
Mhm.
that's amazing, because how often, I don't know, I don't hear about that very often. I hear about it, but not very often, that the
Yeah.
couple, they complement each other in a way that, and they actually like want to do the business together. you
Right.
know? Right. So that's really cool. I really applaud you guys for doing that. It's been 22 years. That's really awesome. So
Mhm.
what's next for you? Or what's next for him and you, the business?
Yeah, so what's next is he has a huge show that he's preparing for now that'll be at the Northwest African American Museum in Seattle. In September of 2022 will be the opening, and he is creating 24 new portrait paintings, because portrait paintings are his specialty,
Hmm.
and they will be all of women of color. Um, and to fit into the theme of what the African American Museum is about. For the first time, he will be using live models, which he has not done much in the past except for the paintings he's done of me. So he's in the process of taking photos of them to then make the paintings of. His largest painting to date has been an 18 by 36, and these paintings will all be 4 by 5 feet each.
Oh, wow. That's a
So
big jump.
yeah, it is a big jump. Yeah. So that's one thing that's really exciting that he's doing. We also are going to do even more art shows. We did last year, we did mostly smaller shows in that they were 1 day only shows. And it may be like an all day thing, or it may just be like 5 hours. It just depends. We're going to focus more next year on larger shows that are 2 to 3 days long, and the buy-in for those, like the vendor fee, is a lot more expensive. So we've done shows that were like between $0 for the vendor fee up to about 200, and these
Hmm.
bigger shows are about 1,500 each, because
Oh, wow.
yeah, because they kind of, I mean, they can't ever guarantee what you're going to make,
Right.
but because of the attendance and what, the data they have from years past, they can pretty much guarantee that you'll have a larger audience and a dedicated audience, because the shows are not only bigger and longer, but they've been long running. So we're
Hmm.
going to kind of narrow down and focus on those a little bit more. I have worked on a wholesale greeting card program, because we always get the feedback from people, especially since he focuses on portraits and he paints everyone from every culture, community, nationality, what have you,
Hmm.
that they really appreciate that. Again, they can either resonate with something, or they can buy something for someone else, a greeting card that they feel would represent others. So I have been reaching out to real estate agents who give thank you cards to their
Mm-hmm.
clients, to baby and children clothing store owners, to gift shop owners. I had someone purchase a set of wholesale greeting cards who owns a beauty supply store, because a lot of his work has features the hair. That's kind of a focal point in his artwork. So that was something that she felt her customers it would resonate with her customers. And the newest thing is that I am going to open up the home studio to art educators, or general education educators, elementary, middle, and high school, teachers to bring field trips to our home studio so that
Oh,
students can get a demo and maybe an art lesson, uh, talk about his process, hear about his how he got into art and what his grandfather's influence was. We have some of his grandfather's artwork and a couple of art books that were produced with his grandfather's work. And at the end of that field trip, they'll get a small sign print from him to take home. So that's something that we're gonna work. Those are things we're working on for 2020.
wow, that's fantastic. If you're listening to this right now, hopefully you got some really great, tips and ideas to that will help you. If you know somebody who's an artist, or if you yourself as an artist, these are great ideas of things that you can do to you'll grow your business. So I have one last question for
Okay.
you, and that is, what is one action step our audience can take today, tomorrow, or next week that will help them uplevel their personal and or professional life? One action step.
I would say if you're not already organized, get organized.
Oh gosh,
And
that's
if
like 15 actions.
well, possibly. I can narrow it down to, and if
Okay,
you
okay.
are already organized, just go back over, what your organizational tools are and try to fine tune that. And that's something that I try to do all the time. So, for instance, one thing that I'm not as good at as I would like to be is so I keep track of all of our sales and
Hmm.
what we have to purchase for the business, but I don't keep it all in one place all the time. Like I'm not constantly, so like I'll have paper receipts and then I'll have, our square
Yeah.
machine sales. And our tax accountant is always like saying to my husband every year when we go in and get our taxes done, like, oh, you should take her out for a steak dinner because she like gives me everything in such a like nice format, but she just doesn't understand what I have to do to get it there because I always say, I'm going to do this every month, make sure I have everything in one place, like log
Yeah.
receipts and download the square stuff into my spreadsheet, and I never do it, and here we are again in December and I have to do it. So that's what I mean, like
It's
by
funny.
refining
Yeah,
here.
I hear you, because that's like with maybe like a bunch of different things, right? Where we have this idea that every week I'm going to do this thing,
Mhm,
and then a year
mhm,
goes by and we're
mhm.
like, oh, I remember that every week I was going to do that thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like I have receipts, like because I pay cash sometimes for things, and I know
Mhm,
that that makes it harder to track. But
mhm,
so you've got your cash receipts, and then you have like this card and that card, and this like it's all
mhm.
over the place. So I
Yeah,
hear you. So get yourself organized.
yeah.
So would you say that like let's say somebody is not they're not feeling like they're very organized. Is there one specific area that you would recommend for them to tackle first? Because if we try to tackle everything, it just gets so overwhelming, I think.
Mhm. Well, I'll tell you what I told a few other artists. At one point, I didn't mention this. I had about 6 artists that I was managing because everybody
Oh,
saw what I was doing for George and they wanted me to do the same thing for them.
right.
And I explained to them that what I would be able to do for them as a manager would be to a lesser degree than what I do for George because I live with him. Sometimes I trap him in the car on long rides and make him have business meetings with me. Like I can't do those things with them, right?
Right.
So I gave them a checklist of things that I needed them to get prepared before I could even begin working with them. And some of the things on that checklist was like um, either have a bio or audio record yourself talking about your life and have someone else write the bio for you, which I also am a writer. So I would provide that service for free for my clients. But
Hmm.
make sure that you have the information together for a bio. Make sure that you have a list of all of the places where you show up online. So your website, social media, those kinds of things. write down what your goals are and maybe write a couple of action steps under each one of those goals. And they could be short term all the way to long term goals.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for now, that's all I will get because those are, several things. But I would say, just make a checklist of all the things that you feel that you need to do or that you haven't done or that you want to do and you haven't done. Because just writing them down is one more step to actually making them happen, I feel like, or typing it up, somewhere that you're going to look on your computer.
Now I'm going to put you on the spot here
Okay.
because you mentioned the checklist. I think that would be a great item for you if you don't mind, like giving that as a gift to people who are
Oh,
interested, because
sure. Yeah.
sometimes we can't, we're too close to the forest to see the trees, right? And we don't really know what we're missing until we see them. And we're like, why didn't I think about that? So
Okay.
if you're up for it, if
Yes.
you'd like, we can give that out as a free
Yeah,
PDF for people.
sure.
So how should they contact you, or how should they get that from you?
They can email me at georgejenningsart@hotmail.com,
Okay.
or they can go to georgejenningsart.com to our website and click the Contact George button and then just fill that form out. And, you can put in the comments that this is for NaKeesa's free gift.
Okay, cool. I just had to. I was like, oh, this is going to be a perfect thing
Yeah.
for, there's several people that could really, really use this. And so thank you so much for letting me put you on the spot there and then
Oh, no
for jumping
problem.
in on it.
That's okay. And I do want to just make sure that people are aware that checklist will be very focused to what artists need to do. So there'll be some things
Right.
that can be used for any type of business, or you can like relate it. It'll be kind of transferable things that you can relate to whatever you do. But it is very kind of artist focused.
Well, fantastic. Well, I want to thank you so much, and for giving this information. I got a lot of great tips that I can impart to my clients, the artists, who are my clients. And I really want to thank you so much for that information. So
Yeah.
thank you for being on the Women Action Takers podcast. You guys heard it right here. Get organized. If you're not organized, do something that can get yourself organized. If you already are organized, go back through it and see if there's something that you can do to even make yourself more organized. And if you'd like that free download, reach out to NaKeesa. Again, that was at georgejenningsart.com.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
georgejenningsart.com.
Yeah.
And I will put that in the notes so you can click on that to reach out to her. Go to the contact tab there and ask her for that free download. It's something that's going to help you be able to get more organized and to know what things that you need in order that you can have the success that they're having at George Jennings Art. Thank you so much, NaKeesa, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.